I'd say that urban creeks are in quite a lot of trouble in terms of the number of contaminants in them. And it's not just things like pesticides, but it's also things like, increased turbidity, things like pharmaceuticals that are going into there, microplastics. So urban creeks are in trouble, but thankfully I've been surprised at the number of people who are engaged with looking after their local waterways in urban environments. So hopefully that's something that can improve over time.
What other things are you finding in the water?
We're finding some of the common culprits. Some people may have heard of them. Diuron is one of them, which we find quite a lot. Finding some triazine herbicides. They're the kinds of ones that are picked up in virtually every water monitoring program that's run not only in Australia but overseas as well. So some water-loving herbicides tend to be detected quite a lot. So we're detecting a lot of the common culprits. Yeah.
And how about other things like you mentioned caffeine before?
Yeah, we're screening for caffeine while we're going as well. And yeah, caffeine's something that Jules, one of my supervisors from the Warrnambool campus of Deakin, she was involved in a study that looked at pharmaceuticals around the globe. So they sampled, everywhere, including Antarctica. And even in those samples from Antarctica, they were finding caffeine, nicotine, some degradation products associated with nicotine. So everywhere these chemicals are being found, even where you wouldn't imagine them to be.
Yeah, I actually saw some kids swimming in Corro Creek a few months ago.
Swimming, hey?
Yep. I hope they're still with us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I used to, this project, I used to take my dog down to Jackson's Creek near Sunbury and throw her in, let her have a swim. And these days I'm a little bit more reluctant to do stuff like that.
Yeah, lots of itching from my dogs when they'd go for a swim in the creek. Now, you've just been on a bit of a trip to New Zealand, I believe?
Yeah, we came back in February. So yeah, my partner's from Auckland. So yeah, we make a few trips there every year. So yeah, we spend a bit of time there.
Did you get out to some nature there?
Yeah, we went down to Queenstown for a bit and did the root burn track, which was great. Yeah, so we've started picking up those multi-day hikes. It's quite good to have someone to be able to do that with. And so yeah, we've done quite a few recently. We've done the Grampians Peaks Trail. We were just at the Great Ocean Walk a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, the root burn track was definitely a highlight, I think.
I've seen pictures. I haven't been, but looks pretty amazing.
Yeah,
very, very rocky mountains.
Yeah, pretty rocky. I think we may have missed out on some of the really dramatic views because of the weather that we got. Very drizzly, but there's a magic to that as well. The fog that settles down, and you get things revealed to you every couple of minutes because you're walking further into that little space that you can see. So definitely one that I want to do again. Yeah, fantastic experience as well, and nice huts. Yeah, pretty good huts they've got there.
Dock, they run the huts, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and they call it tramping rather than hiking.
That's right. Yeah, that's the word we have to use at home now.
Yeah. And how's the water quality over there?
Oh, well, the water's, I mean, if anywhere has pristine water, you'd hope that it would be Fiordland National Park in New Zealand. That being said, they still have signs up on the taps in all the huts that say you must filter this water, which I don't think is necessary. I didn't filter it. I was fine. It, comes straight from, a mountain. So hopefully there aren't as many anthropogenic stresses in those waterways, but yeah, those signs are still up there. So I think there's a awareness that we need to be careful with what we're drinking.
We've got a neighbour who's a plumber, and he's quite particular about Melbourne water, which I've always been told that it's the best drinking water in the world, and I tend to agree. I'm not biased, but I tend to agree. But he has triple filtration system. Not just his drinking water, but the mains water coming to the house.
Yep.
So all his clothes are getting triple filtered water, and his dishwasher and everything.
Yeah, I wonder if your neighbour is my friend John, because he does exactly the same thing. He's out in Sunbury.
There you go.
But he has the triple filters out the front, and it's for the mains water. So it's everything that goes into the shower, that rinses his vegetables. Absolutely everything is filtered.
But what's your view on that? Do you think Melbourne water is up there, or?
I think it's okay. I think that Melbourne water is pretty high quality. Look, I don't know a huge amount about it, but I'd say it's good quality and it's monitored quite well. I'm not aware of any particular pesticide problems with tap water.
Are you testing for it?
No, I'm not currently.
You'd be the guy that would know.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah.
Now, who's been an inspiration to you and driven you in your work?
I think an important person to have had on this project is Damien. So Damien's my primary PhD supervisor and was my supervisor for honors as well. Him and Julie Mondon at the Deakin Warrnambool campus. This was Pesticide Watch is really their idea. It just happened to be that I wanted to do a project at the time that they were discussing what they could do with this new instrument that they'd got hold of. And they thought we can analyze the pesticides, maybe a schools program. And then I came along saying, I'd like to do a project. And they thought, perfect, let's do this. So I don't think there would be this project in the same way without their input, and, very encouraging the whole way along. So, and highly knowledgeable, I don't know, a fraction of what they know in this space.
Right. What are the most common sources of pesticide pollution in our waterways?
Well, it's easy to think that it's just coming from monocultural intensive agriculture in the regional creeks, and then flowing from those sorts of places and coming down to urban environments. But urban environments are also a large source of pollutants as well, including pesticides. So I think it's coming from a diversity of different places. I imagine, like I say, there are lots of data monitoring gaps here, but I imagine that the sources of these, the profiles that we'd see in urban environments and regional places would be quite different. But that's yet to be seen. And I think definitely tracking point sources for these sorts of things is a way down the track. What Pesticide Watch is trying to do is just establish a baseline. So to be able to analyze for a lot of pesticides and understand what's there, then we can monitor change over time and potentially identify where these things are actually coming from.
What's your theory?
Well, I don't have one at the moment necessarily. I'd say overuse of pesticides in urban environments would be a problem for urban streams. How often do you walk past someone's front yard and they're spraying glyphosate? You go to Bunnings and you see the range of different, pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, rodenticides, all these things that are just available. There's a whole aisle full of them. For a recent survey that I was designing, I actually thought, and we didn't end up doing this, but I actually listed out all the different active ingredients that are available just on the Bunnings website. And it's over 100. Wow. So there are lots of different potential chemicals that you can get there. And really, after the point of sale, we don't really know what people are using them for or how much. And, they're relatively inexpensive. So I think that could be a source of pesticides entering waterways.
And absolutely everything that is purchased off the shelf ends up in the waterways, doesn't it? It eventually, it's going into the into the ground. But
I mean, like I say,
always going to make it in there.
Yeah, one of the points I always make about pesticides is that they're not one thing. They're a huge range of different chemicals. So they vary so much in terms of even their chemical structure, let alone their behavior. So some are, readily degradable. Some are persistent for decades. So some are in the system for a short amount of time. Some don't leave. Some are less toxic. Some are highly toxic. And, some are highly toxic to some things, but not to others. So it's hard to really say one conclusive thing about pesticides because it's such a range of different chemistries.
Do you have a preference that people would buy, like the active ingredient rather than the brand?
Well, I'd question whether you need to get an active ingredient at all, firstly. At the moment, I'm faced with a mice problem in my backyard. My compost bin is being attacked, and we probably spent close to $100 trying to solve that problem with meshing and, digging up all the compost, putting it into a pile, attaching meshing. It's a hard job to do, chuck it all back, hope that they don't come back. I can see mice running up and down trying to find their way back in and they can't quite do it. But it would have been much cheaper to just pay $10-15 and get a rodenticide, pop it there and bait them. So,
which is an awful death for the the rodent and potential death for birds and birds of prey and everything.
Yeah,
So
and potentially unnecessary. So, yeah, hopefully that's true. But I think, we're hopefully going to be heading into a lot more of a chemical constrained world in terms of we'll, we'll eventually realize that these chemicals go somewhere and that they have an effect in the environment. And so hopefully the range that are available to us will reduce and we'll have to be a bit more creative with our solutions.
what homemade solutions would you recommend? Like, let's just say I've never seen a bug on my balsamic vinegar dressed salad. Does that mean vinegar's the answer?
Well, potentially not. Although you can think about replacing some chemicals in your house. I mean, you just look under your, laundry sink and have a look at the range of different chemicals, even aside from pesticides that are in there. And, there's a lot that you probably don't actually need, but you use out of habit, out of inertia. So I think potentially there are changes you can make to just the chemical profile that you're then introducing into water. So, yeah, I think that sort of awareness is something that could grow for contemporary Australia.
Have you heard of using coffee grounds for snail deterrent?
I haven't heard about that one. I've definitely heard about the beer bottles for snails where they go in and drown, apparently. I've never actually used them myself. We just have netting around our vegetables in the backyard. But yeah, I've heard about all sorts of creative solutions that people have.